Bring in more revenue while saving money and differentiate yourself from the rest of the pack vying to win those guests by becoming more environmentally friendly. We will show you how easy it is and how cheap it can be, if not free, and share all the opportunities available. So join us each week as we take another step along the green path. That's one more step to differentiate yourself from the rest of the pack. The Green Path podcast is kindly sponsored by Sustonica, the first sustainability certification for vacation rentals that audits homes on their environmentally friendly setup, installs smart measuring tools for water, gas and electricity, and offers an iPad for guests to see their real-time consumption levels. Learn more at sustonica.com. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Green Path podcast. This podcast were for people in the vacation rental industry, but I have had guests from the hotel industry too. And today we're looking at a company that isn't even associated with accommodation, but they're helping other people, other companies becoming more environmentally friendly, because a cleaner planet is for everyone and all industries are chipping in. Today, I'm chatting with Romesh, who will share his journey and what his company does. Hello, Romesh. How are you?
Hi, Deborah. I'm very well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. So, Romesh, nobody knows you. What does Romesh do?
Fantastic, thank you. I'm an FD consultant, Deborah. So basically, I have a consultancy business called the FD Consultant. Mm-hmm. We help businesses, growing businesses, basically by supporting them financially, commercially, and strategically, as a CFO or finance director would do for a business. That's what we do.
Mm. And how is sustainability tied in with all of that?
Okay. Well, obviously we help on a senior finance basis. We look at and help companies in many ways to grow. And a lot of that is financially focused, but we're looking strategically and commercially. And part of that has to be looking at sustainability and the environment. I think it's so important, both morally and actually as a genuine business benefit as well. And that's the message we're trying to give our clients, to kind of help and support and nurture them on their journey, baby steps towards, building a coherent and hopefully, fruitful sustainability policy.
So if you're talking strategy and you're talking financial, you must have some data or some knowledge that tells us that if we do become more environmentally friendly, we can save money?
Yeah, I think so. I suppose it can be small. It can be difficult with smaller companies to get specific data. Mm-hmm. But the way we look at it is, does it strengthen your ability to get new customers on board? Mm-hmm. Does it help you give a clearer message to your consumers that you're doing something, not just by providing a service, but you're trying to do things that have benefit to society, on a general basis. And the environment is so important right now. It's a significant factor that has to be considered. Also, if you've got contracts with large organizations as a business, those organizations might come to you and say, listen, we've been working with you for many years. You're providing a great service. Thank you very much. But what are you doing for the environment? We can only work with you if you are showing steps that are helping us to say to our stakeholders that, we are partnering with the right organizations from an ESG perspective. So, that there's that aspect. And I think when you're looking at, suppliers as well, I think it's the supply chain, it's your customers. If you're giving that message that you're being proactive and actually trying to do something positive to help the environment, then you're only going to increase your and strengthen your partnerships on both sides of the equation, if that makes sense.
Yes, and you, in our little pre-chat, you mentioned that you work with companies starting from startups to the really, really big companies. Can you and with the startups, you were saying that you sort of suggest things to do that are cheap, they don't have a lot of funding. Can you tell us, like at that level, what can companies do to get the ball rolling?
That's a great question. And yeah, that's where we're trying to help. So our kind of customer base, our clients really are high growth businesses, so startups, scale ups, SMEs. And typically, Deborah, they don't have a lot of, spare resources in terms of cash, time, people to kind of, to focus on things that aren't what they see as core to their business. And what we're trying to do is actually make that more accessible, easier, and explain to them that it can be core to their business, but it can be less expensive than they think. It can be less complex than they think. In fact, it can be quite straightforward in many ways. And by helping them make those initial steps, then it will start a kind of momentum building, because they realize that it's adding value. I think it's not necessarily about cost saving. It's about adding value to your business proposition. And for me, it's companies that add value are the ones that are, generally tend to be more successful.
Yeah. Can you share a couple of those tips? What a property manager could do perhaps to their business?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, one easy thing that you can do is find really good sustainability partners and contribute to them. So, when I started on this journey with one of my clients, I didn't know very much about the area. I'm a finance guy ultimately, right? So I did my research and I found, 2 or 3 really good partners that kind of were willing to work with smaller businesses, and that kind of sector is interesting because it can be quite complex, it can be really expensive, and there's not a lot of time for kind of growing organizations in that space quite often. So I was looking for partners that would be happy to work with companies of that size, make things easy and straightforward, and also, obviously, most importantly, we're doing worthwhile things. So, for example, I partner, or we partner with clients with the Rainforest Trust, for example. Other partners such as Ecology, such as Green the UK, and these are organisations that are doing meaningful things to protect the planet. So, there's a lot of kind of talk about, greenwashing, which is, it's very relevant point to make, but I think it's important just to make a start and not fear that kind of accusation. Just go for something, because doing something is better than doing nothing.
Exactly.
So certain organizations, for example, like Green the UK, like Ecology, will plant trees, they will plant meadows, they'll be working on various projects which are creating new environments, and that's really important thing to do. And you can contribute to that, and you can tell your customers, you can tell your suppliers, well, we are, we've planted X amount of trees, we've protected, or we planted new meadows, etc. And there are various projects. Actually, it's literally not as simple as just planting trees. But and what I like about those organizations is that, Deborah, they've got an audit trail, so you can literally see on their websites, what trees have you planted, how old are they now, where are they exactly, and you can link that so your customers can go on your website. You can say, here's our forest in, I don't know, wherever it's in Madagascar, for example. See what we've done and see what we've continued to do. These are the kind of and then you can start building data. This is the carbon, the CO2 that we've offset, for example. So I like the fact that it's auditable, it's real, so you've got to be with organizations that are doing something tangible, but fully compliant, transparent, etc. A great partner that I and my clients have worked with is the Rainforest Trust. We talked about the tree planting, creating environments. The Rainforest Trust, the UK-based one, is a partner organisation with the US-based Rainforest Trust, and essentially it focuses on protecting kind of pristine rainforest and wildlife areas and areas of significant environmental importance. They do kind of marine areas as well. It's not just pure rainforest. They do various kind of areas of land. But using the rainforest example, because that's the easiest one to explain. You know, rainforests are a huge, huge carbon sink. They you know, they stop a lot of carbon getting out there. You know, they absorb an awful lot. And not only that, obviously they're biodiverse, rich environments which can provide so many other benefits for the planet, and they're being destroyed at a rapid rate. There's an argument, I think it's a strong one, that says it's more important to protect what we have than to plant new stuff. You know, so what we're trying to do is help with both sides of that coin. And the Rainforest Trust is an excellent partner there. Why I really like them is that they're really easy to work with. They're nice people. They have that clarity, that transparency. You can invest in different projects. You can protect wildlife. You can protect environments. And actually, another aspect which I think is brilliant is within the rainforest, again, going back to that example, they are also helping indigenous peoples, you know, who are there living in the rainforest and are trying to protect their lands, and they're living in harmony with nature essentially, and they're being they're very vulnerable, in many ways, and they're helping them secure their rights legally in the country.
Do you have any tips? Okay, so that one, those suggestions will cost money, but they add value. Do you have a suggestion or a tip that doesn't cost anything?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good question. So if you're trying to kind of go to net zero, you have to, well, there are many consultants out there. Sustainability, it's expensive. It's expensive to calculate. There are ways that you can calculate your carbon usage at a corporate level that are relatively straightforward. There are websites that can help you, calculate that. So what we do is we work with our clients to get data. For example, how many vehicles do you have on the roads? How are your employees getting to work? What's your energy usage? We make broad assumptions which are, based on good indicators that we get from other sources, and we build a picture of what that carbon usage can be. We don't go as deep as the supply chain, unfortunately, because that is much more complicated and that's beyond our scope. And we're clear with our clients about that. But essentially, from a corporate perspective, we can say, we can help them say, well, in terms of the activity you and your employees and your offices are doing, and the day-to-day work, whether it's traveling around, etc., this is your carbon footprint. This is what your usage is. And we can then, what we do is we use a partner called Beyond Carbon Neutral, which helps certify that. So when I say certify, we then say to our clients, okay, this is your carbon, your CO2 usage. Help us, if you donate or if you work with these partner organizations that I mentioned, you can offset this CO2. Beyond Carbon Neutral then certifies that. They look at our calculations, they look at the tangible proof of what we've done, and then they'll give a certification. So look, that's not zero cost, going back to the question.
No, and the thing is,
but it's a lot lower. It's a lot lower, and it's something that can be done relatively quickly, I think. But net zero is way down the green path. And for those people who want to take the first step on the green path, and so if we can give them a suggestion that is free, then they have no excuse to not take that first step on the green path. So for me, I would be saying, pick up the phone and ring your energy provider and ask if they have a green energy solution, and say, I want to change. Hang up the phone, and there's the first step done. That's okay, great. I mean, an example of something you can do there is your web hosting, for example.
Yes.
So every business has, a web hoster, which, draws a significant amount of energy,
Yeah.
generally speaking. And you can check if your website and what's on the internet, from your business is actually hosted on, an ecologically sound basis by your web hoster. So there's so I'm just gonna check out the so for example, the Green Web Foundation is an organization that will allow you to put in your website details, and it will tell you if you're hosted on a sustainable basis.
Yes.
There's no charge for that whatsoever.
Yes.
And that's something that you can say to your customers, it's a small step, but again, it's a step in the right direction. And I think if everyone takes steps in the right direction, whether individually or as a corporation and a business, then it starts to make a meaningful impact. And what I found with our clients is you start that process, you start with the simple stuff, they get into it, they understand the value they're adding, and they're motivated to do more. So that's exactly what, if I may, sorry, I could a typical case study with one of our clients. I mentioned to one of our clients that, look, I think you should look at sustainability policy. And the CEO, who's very progressive, very open minded, said, yeah, Romesh, we'd be very happy to. We're really busy right now. Can we revisit it in a little bit of time? I said, sure, no problem. 3 months later, they said, one of our suppliers is asking about our sustainability. We need to look at this. And I said, okay, great. We worked out their carbon footprint in the way I mentioned. We partnered them, or we introduced them to suggested partners. We got the certification, and they loved it. They were really, really motivated by the fact that actually they were doing something good. They were ticking off the boxes, obviously, with their suppliers, which was great. But then it encouraged them to do more and more meaningful things. So, for example, they make deliveries, and they've since we started that process, they've changed all of their fleet to electric vehicles. And that's a big step. A big step. And I think to get there, they had to make the smaller steps first, get really motivated by it, understand the value of it, and then just keep building on it. So that's our approach, really. Start small, and then keep that momentum going.
Yeah. Well, this is why I called it the path. And that first step is always the hardest, like, I don't know what to do. I don't have the time. So we're trying to, encourage these small steps that actually don't take much. So I always, I think a lot of people think the supply chain, it's all about, ahead of you. And what does that mean? It sounds like logistics and what have you. But just like you were saying with the web hosting, to me, that's something like that happens behind you. It's like behind the scenes. You don't think about that being part of the supply chain. They're supplying, they're part of your website that runs the business that you're looking at all these other suppliers. So yeah, you do have to look all around. And yes, it's not the first time I've heard that once you start on the green path, you keep going and you keep going and you enjoy it more and more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a very powerful argument to say, for us to say to our clients, actually, it will help your business ultimately succeed, because, you are demonstrating value added. This is what your customers want. This is what your suppliers want. So, and that's the biggest incentive, I think. The moral thing is important. It's great. But I think I believe what gets people to act is to understand that there's an incentive there. And that's what kind of makes everyone change and move in that direction, I think.
I think property managers shouldn't, I think they need to start their journey, because I do believe that one day the OTAs, the Booking.coms, the Airbnbs and the like, Booking.com has already started a tag for eco-friendly properties, and they're expanding on that tag, and that ultimately will become a filter. So guests who want to stay at environmentally friendly properties can filter it and only choose from environmentally friendly properties. It won't take long before Airbnb does that, or something like that. There's another listing site called Holidoo, and they do badging, and they have the data that shows more people click and look and more people book the green tagged properties. So don't wait to get left behind. You've got to start on the green path now, because at the end of the day, you're going to miss out if you don't have that green badge on these big sites. It's great when you get direct bookings, but you need to have your sustainability page on your website, so anyone that does pop into your website can see what you're doing. Like you're saying, the consumer wants to know that about what you're doing in terms of sustainability. Absolutely.
100%. I couldn't agree more, Deborah. I think ultimately, just getting started and actually being proactive and understanding that if you don't do something now, you're ultimately going to be forced to. So, don't be one of those organizations that is, however small you are, that kind of has to be pulled along. Be one of the people who's kind of there at the forefront, and actually, the planet needs it right now.
Well, I just came back from Paris. I went by train, and I was quite enjoying the I don't have to offset this carbon. This is really, really nice. Yeah, and when you're involved in this sort of thing, you sort of got to walk the walk. And I believe you walk the walk too. What do you do? What have you done?
A few things here and there. This summer we had solar panels installed at our house, and that's fantastic. It's so motivating, kind of seeing. I've got an app on my phone now that kind of tells me, how much energy, we're drawing from the sun at any point in time, how much is going to our batteries, how much we're feeding in, back into the grid, etc. And again, it's one of those things that's incredibly motivating, right? It's changed some of our habits. So for example, we run dishwashers, our washing machine in the daytime, because we're using the power of the sun, and it's a wonderful thing. There's obviously a huge benefit from doing it as well with energy prices at the moment. So that's a step that we made. A few years ago, we moved to, we have a hybrid car. We'll probably move to an EV, sooner rather than later. And again, I think that's a meaningful step. Something I suppose that's a little bit off piece. My wife and I, have an allotment now, so we grow our own vegetables, or we're certainly starting to do that. And we took some
organic, short supply chain. I'm sure it's just down the road or somewhere close by.
Exactly, and
eat local.
100%, Deborah. Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. It's important not to preach. It's important to kind of show by example what you're doing. And that's the message we're giving to our clients here, at the FD Consultant. And we just want to keep contributing and encouraging others to do their bit, to start the ball rolling. And that momentum will keep going. And if everyone did that, then I think the world would be in a better position than we are now.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be indeed.
Yes. I was actually going to say before, when you were talking about the solar panels and how you can see your usage, or you said you see your usage, or you see how much how much power you're getting?
Both.
Now, isn't that amazing? Because up until now, we get our bill every quarter and we don't know what the hell to make of it. I don't know what all the kilowatts mean and whatever. Or the only thing I look at is like how much last year, how much this year, and it's sort of the same sort of. But to actually really have it in real time, or, daily or something, it's like, wow, you really get to understand your usage. And then it might make you think about ways to cut down. I mean, I've always wondered, why do we have to have light switches? Why can't they just come on when you walk in the room and go off when you walk out? Why are lights left on if you're not in the room? I mean, okay, there might be a certain instance where you might need to leave it on, but I like the motion sensor lights. Anyway, that's another story.
No, I think it's a valid point, Deborah. I think one of the things, as I said, when you start on this process personally or in a business, it just makes you more aware and, understanding for me, oh, wow, it's sunny today. I actually said to my wife this morning, it's sunny today. Let's make sure we run the dishwasher, we or, washing machine, whatever, because you understand that energy is a scarce resource, right? And you want to harness it as best you can ultimately.
Use it wisely.
Exactly. And there's lots of little steps you can make like that, I think.
Good. Well, that's what this whole podcast is all about, all those little steps.
Definitely.
Well, Romesh, it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat with you today, and maybe we'll have to have another one soon and you can teach us some more tactics and strategies.
Would love to. Deborah, thank you so much for having me on. It's been wonderful.
It has been lovely. Thank you, Romesh. See you soon.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode and were at least a little bit inspired. If you'd like to catch up on the other episodes that you've missed, just head to thegreenpathpodcast.com. See you next time.